Well, we've come here today for a good reason. Behind me you can see a leat, and this leat, the water from this leat, drive a wheel, which was in fact the first wheel to turn to provide electricity for any building in this country. Now, who put this wheel in, Mr. Perryman?
J. and W. Dicker of Chagford.
But which member of your family? Because your family have lived here for generations.
My father and grandfather.
They put the wheel, they put the electric power in.
Oh, yes.
It would be a corn mill in those days, was
Yes, and bone mill, and sawmill.
They crush bones as well?
Yes, yes, you crush 50 tons of a season.
When did your parents put the wheel in?
This wheel was put in 1837.
What made them decide to do it, to have electric power here, before anybody else had even thought of it in some areas?
My father and grandfather were far-seeing men. My grandfather had the first spring trap in the parish.
When did you put all this gear in here? That saw bench?
I think that iron bench came here about 1857 or 8.
And you still use it?
Oh, yes, yes. We break it down on the big saw so you can handle it, then you can run it out faster there. See a man each end.
Yes.
Push it through there as fast as you like.
What about all the fittings and the controls and everything? They're made of wood. Did you make them?
Yes, Father made some of them. I made the 4-speed drive there.
And what about the wiring and everything from that original time? Is it still the wiring you've got here today?
Original wiring.
Have you never been asked to go on to the mains?
Yes, so came your times. What I said and got me on plan? No, thank you.
Well, Mr. Perryman, it's a great joy meeting you and talking to you. And I want to come back and talk to you again, and this time I want to ask you about Chagford in the old days. Will that be all right?
Yes, sir.
Lovely, I look forward to it.
There were several apple trees there years ago because practically every farm had an orchard to provide cider for the men. And our cider pound used to be down where the pigs are.
Yes.
That's been built the last 100 years.
I'm sure you all remember Mr. Perryman from the last time we came to visit him, and I did promise you we'd come back. We get Mr. Perryman to talk some more about Chagford and this home in the old days.
How long ago were you here?
Oh, I can't remember now. But I remember then you were telling me about this wall. Was it your grandfather built this wall?
Oh, yes.
And this very road we're stood on?
Yes, this road, yes. It cost £60.
£60 to build this road?
Yes.
And somewhere behind me, Mr. Perryman, if we walk down a little bit, we'd probably see it better from the corner here. And you were telling me behind me here there was an orchard up in the side of the hill there, wasn't there?
Yes, where all this rock, where all the stone came from.
All the granite?
Yes.
For this wall?
Yes. And the old man that blasted that rock came to my grandfather when he was 7 years old. Came up from Plimpton.
I believe some of the granite went to the main street in Exeter.
Yes, 4th Street, High Street, Queen Street. Thousands of feet up there.
There is a saying, which I think most of you will know, that I want to bring up in a minute. But tell me first about this, because this is something to do with the family as well, isn't it?
Yes.
The letterbox.
Yes, my father wrote on the 1st of May, 1886, to ask the Postmaster General to be possible to have a letterbox put in the garden wall of Joe, because he gave the number of farms that were right around here. And that the original box, that's a fairly new one, but the original was put there in October the 1st, 1886.
Because the family asked for it?
Yes, yes.
Now, when you've heard the expression, I've no doubt, Dr. Livingstone, I presume. Well, that was said by a man called Dr. Stanley, and Dr. Stanley's tomb has all the stone around it from here on the farm, doesn't it?
Yes.
Tell me something about it. There were specifications. It hasn't to have been touched or hewn, had it, when they asked for it?
Lady Stanley wrote to Father in 1902, I think it was the fall, to know if it was possible to get a block of granite up to 6 tons, fashioned by time, and untouched by the hand of man. And Father wrote back and said, we got plenty of granite from 200 tons down. and she wrote to say she'd be sending a Mr. Edwards from the East London Monumental Works to come down to go over the farm with Father. So they went over the lower side of the road here, then they went the higher side of the road. There was nothing suitable. Then they went out the Mariner's Path, which crossed two of our fields, the Mariner's Path that goes from Dartmouth to Bideford, and came out to French Fair, and then came down the road. Said, there's a stone, if I can have it, in the fence. Oh, Father said, we're going to see Mr. Robert Stark. And he said, I'll come up with you. And he said, yes, provided you wall up the gap you make. Here, they was coming to see them.
They took that away, and it's there to this day, isn't it?
At Purbeck Cemetery, yes. Yes.
A beautiful tree behind this horse chestnut tree.
That Wellingtonia gigantica. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know where it's an Australian tree, you know.
But you know who planted it?
Father and Mother, yes, when they come back from the honeymoon.
Beautiful, isn't it? How do you remember your parents? Your father was a great big man, wasn't he, with a big black beard?
Oh, he wasn't no taller than me.
He looked to be an enormous man on the photograph.
Yes, yeah. Oh, I'm show you grandfather too. He was clean shaven here, but whiskers didn't under here. That was a typical sight in those days. Just shave their chin. He was about 5'6".
The whole family grew up here?
Yes, yes. I've got a sister now living in London. She married and went to London. And I had another sister marry, and she went to Dunsford.
Have you never had any desire to live anywhere else at all?
No.
You've been happy here?
Yes. Well, I suppose I've been here so many years that I shouldn't care about living away. And I had such a dose of it when I was down Sheffield College that I never wanted to really go there again. Oh, it used to be terrible. I was starved, you know, and too much of that cane.
You've had a happy life. We were going because I want to get you out of the cold. Have you had a good life?
Well, I've had me ups and downs, you know.
Welcome to what is sadly the last programme in this series of Interpub. What a shame, what a shame. What will we do? But we do have the Superpub Challenge for you. In other words, the new champions will take on last year's winners. I know it's going to be an absolutely cracking match. The atmosphere already white hot here. So we welcome back the 3 crowns from Chagford, fresh from their success last week, of course, in the grand final, that victory over the oyster catcher from Polzeth. But they're on uncertain ground this week because we come all the way to North Devon, to Morthoe, in fact, and Ruth is going to tell us why.
Thanks, Pete. Well, the reason why is this slot behind me, who I was going to say you probably recognise, but you don't because they've all dressed up tonight. I don't even recognise them. They are the current holders of the Interpub Superpub Challenge. It's the Fortescue Arms from Morthoe. And they're still as noisy as they were last year. The Fortescue is in the beautiful village of Morthoe in North Devon. It overlooks the lovely sandy beach of Woolacombe Bay. It's very popular with holidaymakers, as you can imagine, but also just as popular with the locals. Well, as I said, you saw this lot win through not only the series of Interpub last year, but they also took on the Clifton Hotel from Portland and beat them to take that Superpub Challenge. Tonight they're playing on home ground, and they tell me they want to keep their hands on that trophy, so look out the 3 crowns. That's the team then from the Fortescue.
Well, that lot seem pretty sure of themselves, don't they? But they're going to have to be sure of themselves if they're going to beat this team. The present Interpub champions from Chagford, the 3 crowns! landlord John Giles has brought the entire gang back for the 4th time on the present series of Interpub, and they're all fit and raring to go after beating the oyster catcher last week, and they reckon tonight they're going to make it a double celebration because they're going to win the Superpub final as well. The 3 Crowns!
Thanks very much, Ron. Well, this is what all the excitement's about. Of course, the Interpub 88 Superpub Challenge. In a moment, we'll be talking to the man who holds that trophy. But first, a word with someone who's become a bit of a cult figure on Interpub 88. I'm talking about Nathan Slater from the 3 Crowns. Nathan, have people been recognising you in the street?
Yeah, they have. I mean, I've had old ladies beating me up and little kids cry.
Because everyone thinks that you're a pretty fearsome individual, but it's not really like that, is it?
No, I'm really sweet, really.
A nice guy.
That's right, yeah.
We're going to see you in the arm wrestling later on. Thanks for talking to us. Let's get into it then. Into the darts as we join Ron again.
Now, of course, generally in darts, if you get a treble 20, you want to throw your hat in the air. But if you do that here, it's pretty near fatal, because in Interpub darts, you want to get the lowest possible score. Low, perhaps, by getting a bull, which scores nothing, an outer ball, which scores 5, if I remember correctly. But, of course, most folk are going to be going for the ones. Most folk in the shape of, well, they seem to have sort of delved back through the mists of times to find the king of all arrows here, Robin Hood, who comes for the Fortescue in the shape of Sam Hine. But... a much more plain-looking chap to go first, Martin Rose from the 3 Crowns. There you are. In your own time, Martin.
Go on, Martin.
He's played very well so far. And he's going to repeat it by the looks of it. And they're there. Oh, it's a 20. One of those was an 18. No, there you are, the first leg, yes. The first leg to the 3 Crowns.
Go on, Martin.
There we are, 22 again. 2, 3. Oh, we got a double 18, which means we have a winner here. The 3 Crowns. Soft luck, Robin.
Now we move swiftly on to the Interpub Superpub Challenge Skittles match. And I'm sure you'll agree we've seen some terrific Skittles so far on Interpub 88, particularly from this gentleman on my left here, Jim Forsey for the 3 Crowns. Jim, you've won every match so far. You scored an incredible 24, I think, in the last match. Another high score tonight?
We shall see.
Oh, he's so cool, isn't he, eh? We shall see. Has he been practising in the frock, I wonder? Off you go. That's 4 down. That's another one. That's 5 down. That's 6 down. One ball and 1 skittle. Quiet, please. Oh, unlucky. That's 8 down for the 3 Crowns. That's 4. He needs 2 more. That's 5 and 1 more. Can he do it? Needs 1 more. Yeah! At the moment, the 3 Crowns are looking good once again. They're 10 points in the lead, but it could change now with the arm wrestling. We got the Moose back against Nathan Slater. Let's join Ruth. Well, as you can hear, the tension and excitement are mounting. Actually, Clive, I'm in mourning tonight. Black frock. I've just realised this is the last arm wrestling contest on Interpub 88.
Well...
What are we going to do, girls? Friday night won't be the same without these beefy, brawny, bicep-bound brutes, will it? What are we going to do? But it might be the last Interpub arm wrestling match of '88, but it's certainly going to be a cracker, is it?
It's going to be a good one, I'm sure it is.
Representing the Three Crowns, Nathan Slater. And his opponent in the red corner tonight, John the Incredible Hulk. They're vicious, they're vicious. Clive, take it away.
All right. Straighten your wrists. Straighten your wrists. Straighten your wrists. Okay. Take the strain. Are you ready? Go!
Last chance in Interpub 88 to score some points. Points in the shape of 20, in fact. 10 questions, 2 points for each correct answer. And having a go for the Three Crowns, as usual, Mary Fisher and John Bint. And giving a very scholarly touch, I must say, from the Fortescue, Peter Wainwright and Anne Wilkinson. Right. Get ready with those old buzzers there. What do you get in a French restaurant if you order canard? Fortescue. Duck. 2 points to the Fortescue. The play Amadeus is about 3 crowns.
Wolfgang Mozart.
Mozart. What do you generally call a quasi-autonomous, non-governmental organisation? Fortescue.
Quasar.
You're gone. It's a Quango, of course. No points there. Who had a #1 hit this autumn with the song Orinoco Fortescue?
Oh, Enya, yeah, that's it.
Enya, In Time. I'll give 2 points there. Dame Edna Everidge and Sir Les Patterson Fortescue. Barry Humphries, 2 points. Not enough, I'm afraid. The Superfan Challenge goes for the 3 crowns from Chagford. Well done.
27 points, the 3 crowns, 22 to the Fortescue. John Giles of the 3 crowns gets the Superpub Challenge, and that, I'm afraid, wraps up the series. But join us again next year for Interpub 89. We'll see you then. From us all here at the Fortescue, it's good night.
Chagford has been dubbed the most British village in Britain by the British Travel Association. That's because they feel that it embodies all that the North American visitor expects to find in a small British country town. The tag follows a recommendation from a group of West Country hoteliers bent on building up West Country tourism. Well, I've spent most of the day in Chagford and I've yet to see a Union Jack fly, an umbrella furled, or a curly brim bowler. Not that one would normally find those things in Chagford on a weekday, but I can't help feeling that those 3 things would surely feature high on any North American's list of priorities. No, unfortunately, the American visitor must content himself with the Batter Market Square with its old prison lockup, built in 1861. The old one fell down, killing the unfortunate inmates. Still, that's comparatively recent stuff. In this porch here, which dates back to the 13th century, Sir Godfrey Godolphin was slaughtered by the Roundheads after he fled from the field of Bloody Meadow just down the road. It's all good tourist luring stuff, this. There's no smithy in Chagford, nor has there been for at least 18 years, just the old Forge Cafe. An unusual opportunity for an American visitor to visit the Mid-Devon Foxhound Kennels. Can't get much more English than that now, can you? Chagford started as a tin mining centre, but when that failed, wool became the main source of income, and wool fairs like this one featured regularly on the old calendar. The wool factory here stopped working in 1872, but today it houses a water turbine dating from 1914, for Chagford was a pioneer town in early electricity. Street lighting came here in 1891, and the householder in those days of old paid 10 shillings a year for each socket on his domestic supply. The old water turbine in the disused wool factory still makes a contribution to the national grid. Perhaps on a historical count, Chagford is well qualified. It's just that it's said to nestle in a valley in an area known as the Devonian Alps. Oh well, as long as it brings in those vital dollars to shore up our ailing economy, who cares?
Tony, I thought owls were nocturnal creatures.
Well, they are in the main. Oliver's quite happy whether it's daylight or night.
And what about shopping? Does he enjoy that?
He doesn't mind. He likes company.
Now, Wendy, you were the young lady that actually found Oliver.
Yes.
What sort of state was he in when you got hold of him?
Well, he was very tiny, very young, just all covered in white down, really. That was it.
And how did you know to take him along to Tony for help?
Well, he's known for looking after birds, and he's got lots of pictures on the front of his door.
So this is Ollie's home?
Yes. From the earliest beginning, he had to be force-fed, and this was pieces of rabbit and things until we got hold of the little chicks for him, and then after that, he gradually got into the hang of picking up and tearing for himself. A bit messy to start with, and then he come on from there.
And what sort of appetite has he now?
We'll manage 2 or 3 small chicks over a period of 24 hours.
Goodness me. You and Ollie seem to have become great friends. Will you ever let him go?
If he finds a mate, or if a mate gets round to hearing its call and that sort of thing, yes, definitely. But not as he is at the moment, because I don't think he'd be able to fend for himself. He's not been taught to look for live bait or mice or anything like that.
Well, I think we'll let Ollie have his room to himself, because I know you've got lots of other birds. Can we go and have a look at a few more?
Yes, by all means.
Ollie, hi then, come on.
This is a little dab chick that was found on the side of the road. A little baby that wasn't able to fly or feed itself at this stage. And he lives mainly on worms. And it'll take quite a while before it comes on to fully grown and able to fly.
How much looking after does he need?
It needs the warmth, and he seems to want this more than anything else at the present moment. And it's a case of keeping on the right food so they can get the natural growth without being stunted and harmed.
Tony, what about those fierce-looking crows up there?
Well, those crows are jackdaws. There's 3 of them, 1 in the cage and 2 up the top. All 3 have been caught by cats and sustained injuries to wing and leg. One since lost the foot of one leg, and the other 2 have picked up quite well with their wings. One will probably be able to fly again. One can get across the room now.
Would these birds be alive now had you not looked after them?
No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't have survived maybe hours or maybe a day, depending on whether an animal will catch them or the cold will get them.
What's this little chap here?
That's a little tree pipit. It was found by holiday makers from Wales and brought into the village, finding somewhere for him. It had been badly, well, maybe for a car or running into a car or been caught by an animal, but his wing was very badly mangled and twisted over. We had him for a period strapped up, but eventually the first part of the wing dropped off. It's basically a migrant bird and should have gone to a warmer climate long before now, but it's a permanency now. He's put on weight and he's done very, very well.
In fact, he looks full of beans at the moment, doesn't he?
He is. They're coming out in the evening and plays with the other 2, and you know, he's running all over the place.
I was making a javelin, sort of to chuck around in the churchyard, you know, with a javelin. And then suddenly Thomas pulled me away and looked in the sky and said, "What's that noise?" You know, it was humming noise, went and said, "It's a flying saucer." I said, where? And then I saw this shadow, sort of black sort of shadow thing, and then I thought, what could it be, you know? And Thomas said, "It's flying saucer," and I was so excited.
It's about 50 foot above the church tower up there.
And what was it doing?
Well, it was just hovering for a while, sort of moving very slowly, and then after about 30 seconds it just went off really fast.
Did it have any lights on it?
No, none at all.
How do you know it wasn't an aircraft or just a dark cloud?
Well, by the noise it made and by the size, because it's enormous and it was like a dome. And
were you scared?
Yeah, very.
It was certainly odd. I couldn't explain it in any rational form at all. It took the form of a number of lights in the sky, in the night sky. At first I thought it might be in an aircraft or something, but it was stationary. That was the thing. And I observed it for some 5 minutes or so, and it remained stationary. It was quite a long way off, so one couldn't really make out any form, except there was a banana-shaped ray of lights.
Publican John Giles has been told he's committing a criminal offence by displaying illegal signs at the Three Crowns, but the Park Authority has put up a much larger notice board next door. An incensed Mr Giles has gathered 200 signatures in 24 hours from people who say the authority is overstepping the mark.
I think the way they're going about things, yes, I think they're getting far too big for the boots, basically. It's as simple as that. They're dictating what we've got to do in a village. They're telling me to take small signs down, and they come and put a damn great notice board in the middle of the, right next door to a beautiful building, and covering up 3/4 of the wall.
They've told me that within the next 2 weeks I have to take down 2 signs, this being one of them, outside my shop, because it is a listed building and it detracts from that building.
Do you think it detracts from the building?
I don't think so at all, no, I don't think so.
The Park Authority says people in Chagford had plenty of time to oppose its plan for a large parish notice board, but no one did. And it says if John Giles and others apply for planning permission for their signs in the normal way, it may be granted.
Well, yes, there was a big case being held here. It was for tinners only. And as I say, this chap, he was found guilty, and he told such an unlikely story. And he said that if it was lying, may the place fall down around his head. And as soon as he said it, it did actually fall down around his head. But it killed 20 people, or more than that, and injured about 17. It was a very sad case, actually, in very many ways. It was hurriedly replaced by this, what we call the shambles, actually. It's still known as the shambles. Just an ordinary thatched roof. They still held the courts there, but timber at the bottom. But it was in such bad repair, they had to just pull it down, you know, around 1800. It was terrible.
And then, of course, a little later on, it was replaced with the present building.
That's right, in 1862. And because of its 8-sided shaped roof, everybody commonly called it the pepper pot, and it's always been named the pepper pot by the locals.
Now, there's something very strange going on in the pepper pot about a lemonade bottle.
Ever since it was built, this building, they had trouble with the weather vane turning, and nobody could come up with a solution. So one chap rolled out of the ring of bells, and he'd smashed a lemonade bottle to get the marble out, you know, with the old-fashioned bottles, climbed the ladder, stuck it onto the weather vane, and it's been turning perfectly ever since.
Well, here in Chagford, you could say they're really lifting the lid off their history, and for some reason they've asked me to help. I'm told it involves a bottle of lemonade, and that all will be revealed shortly. So, here goes. Well, now that the pepper pot's finally come down to earth, it's had 2 important consequences for Chagford. The first is that 1001 pigeons are going to have to find themselves a new home. And the second, I deeply regret to inform you, is that the history books are going to have to be rewritten, because Chagford has lost its marbles.